Dear Diary, I need to write this down before I forget the details, before my mind tries to convince me it was all just paranoia. But I know what I saw. I know what happened in that house on Willow Creek Drive, and I need someone, even if it's just these pages, to believe me. My name is Emma Grace, and 3 nights ago I took what I thought would be an easy babysitting job. I'm 22, fresh out of college, and desperately trying to save money for my own place. My mum kept telling me to be careful about taking jobs from strangers online, but the posting seemed legitimate. A family in Meadowbrook Estates, one of those pristine suburban neighbourhoods where every lawn is perfectly manicured and every house looks like it belongs in a magazine. The Harringtons needed someone to watch their 6-year-old daughter Lily for just one evening. They were offering $200 for 5 hours. How could I say no? I remember driving through those quiet streets for the first time, my old Honda feeling out of place among the luxury SUVs and electric vehicles. The houses were massive, separated by tall hedges and iron gates. Everything was so still, so perfect. Too perfect, I thought at the time, though I dismissed it as nerves. The Harrington house was at the end of a cul-de-sac, a modern 2-story with floor-to-ceiling windows that seemed to stare out at the street like enormous eyes. I parked in their circular driveway and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror, trying to look professional and confident. My hands were shaking slightly as I grabbed my bag and walked to the front door. Mrs. Harrington answered on the first knock. She was tall, blonde, wearing a black cocktail dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her smile was warm, but didn't quite reach her eyes. "Emma? Oh, thank goodness you're here. We were starting to worry you'd gotten lost." "No, the directions were perfect," I said, stepping inside. The interior was even more impressive than the exterior. Marble floors, a sweeping staircase, contemporary art on the walls. But something felt off. The house was cold. Despite the expensive heating system, I could hear humming. And those windows, everywhere I looked, there were windows, offering views of the darkening neighbourhood. Mr. Harrington appeared from a hallway, adjusting his tie. He was older than his wife, maybe late 40s, with greying temples and an expression that seemed permanently stern. "You must be the babysitter," he said, not bothering with my name. "Lily is upstairs. She's already had dinner and her bedtime is 8:30 sharp. Do not let her negotiate." "Of course," I said, trying to sound confident. Mrs. Harrington touched her husband's arm. "Richard, don't be so harsh. Emma comes highly recommended." She turned to me with that strange smile again. "Lily can be particular. She has quite an imagination. If she tells you stories about people watching the house, just ignore it. It's a phase." My stomach tightened. "People watching the house? Children's nonsense," Mr. Harrington said dismissively. "She's been having nightmares. The child psychologist says we shouldn't indulge her fantasies." Mrs. Harrington handed me a sheet of paper with emergency numbers. "We'll be at a charity gala downtown. Cell service can be spotty in this neighbourhood. Something about the power lines. But we should be reachable. There's food in the fridge if you get hungry. And Emma?" She paused at the door. "Keep the curtains closed, would you? Lily sleeps better that way." Before I could ask why the curtains weren't already closed, they were gone, the door clicking shut behind them, with a finality that made me shiver. I stood in that enormous, empty house listening to the silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence that feels like it's waiting for something. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen, the distant tick of a clock somewhere upstairs, and my own breathing, suddenly too loud in my ears. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing slightly. "Lily?" No answer. I climbed the stairs, my footsteps muffled by thick carpet. The second floor was a long hallway with doors on either side, most of them closed. One was slightly ajar, and I could see a soft pink glow coming from inside. "Lily? I'm Emma. Your parents hired me to hang out with you tonight." I pushed the door open fully and found her sitting on her bed, a small girl with dark curls and enormous brown eyes. She was clutching a stuffed rabbit and staring at me with an intensity that was unsettling in a child so young. "You're the new one," she said quietly. "The new one?" "The other babysitters didn't come back," Lily said, her gaze shifting to the window behind me. "They saw him too." I turned slowly, looking at the window. Outside, the neighbourhood was settling into evening darkness. Streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows across perfectly trimmed lawns. And there, just at the edge of the property line, I thought I saw movement. Just a shadow. Probably nothing. But Lily's small voice cut through my rationalizations. He's already watching, Emma. He always starts watching before it gets dark. I tried to laugh it off the way Mrs. Harrington probably expected me to. Lily, there's nobody out there. It's just shadows from the trees. But even as I said it, I couldn't stop staring at that spot where I'd seen the movement. The Harrington property backed up to a small wooded area, unusual for such a developed neighbourhood. The trees were dark and thick, creating a wall of shadows that seemed to shift and breathe in the evening wind. "Can we close the curtains now?" Lily asked, still clutching her rabbit. I remembered Mrs. Harrington's instructions. "Yes, let's do that." I crossed to the window, trying to move casually, but my heart was beating faster than it should have been. As I reached for the curtain cord, I made the mistake of looking directly out into the yard. That's when I saw it clearly. A figure, standing perfectly still at the tree line, maybe 50 yards from the house. It was too dark to make out features, just a tall, dark silhouette that seemed wrong somehow. Too still, too focused. My hand froze on the curtain cord. "Emma," Lily whispered, "close them, please." I yanked the curtains shut so hard the rod rattled. My breath was coming quick and shallow. "Lily, has there been someone hanging around your house?" She nodded slowly. "He comes every night. Daddy says I'm making it up, but I'm not. The other babysitters saw him too. That's why they left." "Other babysitters? How many have you had?" "4 in 2 months. Lily pulled her knees up to her chest. "They all ran away. Except the last one. She called the police, but when they came, he was gone. Daddy was really mad. He said she was hysterical and refused to pay her." My mouth went dry. "Your parents know someone's been watching the house. They don't believe me. They think I'm making it up for attention." Her voice was small, defeated. "But you believe me, don't you? You saw him." I wanted to tell her I'd seen a shadow, a trick of the light, anything but what I was actually thinking, because I had seen something, and the way it stood there, so still, so patient, made my skin crawl. "Let's go downstairs," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We can watch a movie or play a game. Something fun." Lily shook her head. "He can see better downstairs. All those big windows. Mummy likes them because they make the house look expensive, but..." She trailed off, looking toward her bedroom door like it was the entrance to a battlefield. I forced myself to think rationally. I was an adult. This was a child with an active imagination, scared by shadows. The responsible thing to do was to show her there was nothing to be afraid of, to help her feel safe. "Come on," I said, extending my hand. "I promise I won't let anything happen to you." She hesitated, then slipped her small hand into mine. It was ice cold. We made our way downstairs, and I immediately understood what she meant about the windows. The entire back wall of the living room was glass, overlooking the yard, and those dark woods beyond. The curtains were open, just as the Harringtons had left them, and the darkness outside seemed to press against the glass like something alive. I could see our reflection in the windows, a young woman and a small child, alone in a too-big house, while outside the world was nothing but shadows. "I'm going to close these curtains too," I said, moving toward the wall of windows. "He doesn't like it when we close them," Lily said softly. "Well, that's too bad. This isn't his house." I was trying to sound brave, but my hands were shaking as I reached for the first curtain. The fabric was heavy, expensive, and as I pulled it across the glass, I had to get close to the window. That's when I saw my own face reflected back at me, pale and frightened. And behind my reflection, in the darkness outside, I saw it again. The figure was closer now, much closer, standing just at the edge of the patio, maybe 20 feet from the glass. Still that same unnatural stillness, but now I could make out more details. Tall, at least 6.5 feet, wearing something dark, maybe a coat or hoodie, but it was the posture that was all wrong. The head tilted slightly like it was studying us, like it was curious. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. "He's there, isn't he?" Lily's voice was matter-of-fact, resigned. I wanted to lie, to tell her everything was fine, but I couldn't. "Go to the kitchen," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Right now, Lily." She didn't argue. She turned and ran toward the kitchen, her small feet padding across the marble floor. I grabbed my phone from my pocket with shaking hands and pulled up the emergency contact sheet Mrs. Harrington had given me. My fingers hovered over her number, then moved to 911 instead. But before I could dial, the lights went out. The entire house plunged into darkness, and in that terrible moment of blindness, I heard it. A soft, deliberate tapping on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Someone was knocking on the window. I stood, frozen in the darkness, my phone screen the only source of light, casting a pale glow that barely reached beyond my trembling hands. The tapping stopped, replaced by a silence so complete it felt like the house itself was holding its breath. "Emma?" Lily's voice came from the kitchen, small and terrified. I forced myself to move, to breathe, to think. "Stay there, Lily. Don't move." My eyes were adjusting to the darkness, and I could make out the shapes of furniture around me. The window was a lighter shade of black against the darkness of the room, and I realized with a spike of terror that I could be seen perfectly from outside. Whoever was out there could watch me stumbling around in the dark while they remained hidden. I quickly dialed 911, my thumb shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. 911, what's your emergency? "Someone's outside the house," I whispered urgently. "I'm babysitting at 847 Willow Creek Drive in Meadowbrook Estates. The power went out and someone's been watching the house. They're right outside the windows." "Mum, are you and the child safe right now? Are you in immediate danger?" "I don't know. The power just went out and someone was tapping on the glass. Mum, I need you to stay calm. Can you get to a room with a lock on the door?" I looked toward the kitchen where Lily was hiding. "Lily, come here, quickly." She emerged from the shadows, running toward me. I caught her hand and pulled her toward the stairs. "We're going to your room. Does your door have a lock?" She nodded against my side. "We're going upstairs now," I told the dispatcher, taking the steps 2 at a time while pulling Lily behind me. "Sending officers now, Mom. Stay on the line with me. Do not hang up." We reached Lily's room and I slammed the door shut, twisting the small lock on the handle. It was a cheap interior lock, the kind you could probably open with a credit card, but it was something. I pushed Lily's dresser against the door for good measure, my muscles burning with adrenaline. "Okay, we're locked in a bedroom," I told the dispatcher. "How long until the police arrive?" "Officers are approximately 8 minutes away. Can you tell me exactly what you saw?" I described the figure at the tree line, how it had moved closer, the tapping on the glass. As I spoke, I moved away from Lily's window, keeping my body between her and the glass. The curtains were still closed from earlier, but they suddenly felt like paper-thin protection. Has this person attempted to enter the home? I don't know. I came upstairs right after the power went out. That's when we heard it. The sound of glass breaking downstairs. Not a window shattering, but something smaller, deliberate. Lily whimpered and pressed herself against me. I wrapped my arm around her, my phone still pressed to my ear. "Someone just broke something downstairs," I told the dispatcher, my voice barely working. "Mum, stay where you are. Keep the door locked. Officers are 6 minutes away." 6 minutes. It felt like an eternity. I could hear sounds from below now, footsteps on the marble floor. Slow, deliberate footsteps, like whoever was down there wanted us to hear them, wanted us to know they were inside. The footsteps moved through the downstairs, and I tried to picture the layout, to track where they were going. Living room, hallway, kitchen, back to the living room. They seemed to be searching, methodical and patient. Then they stopped. The silence was worse than the footsteps. In that silence, I imagined them standing at the bottom of the stairs, looking up towards where we hid, listening for us the way we were listening for them. "Emma," Lily whispered, so quietly I almost didn't hear her. "Check your phone messages." "What?" "Lily, not now. Check them, please." Something in her voice made me pull the phone away from my ear, just long enough to glance at the screen. I had 3 missed calls from Mrs. Harrington and 2 text messages. The first message read, "Emma, are you all right? Our alarm company just called. Someone triggered the backdoor sensor. The second message made my blood run cold. Whatever you do, do not go outside. Keep Lily away from the windows. We're coming home now. They knew, I breathed. Your parents knew someone was targeting the house. Lily nodded in the darkness. That's why they needed a babysitter so badly. That's why they offered so much money. Nobody wants to stay here after dark. Why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they warn me? Would you have come if they had? She was right. I wouldn't have. And they must have known that. They'd sent me here blind, used me as, what? Bait? A test? My anger flared hot and bright, cutting through the fear. The dispatcher's voice crackled from my phone. Mum, are you still there? I put the phone back to my ear. I'm here. The intruder is inside the house. They're downstairs. Officers are 4 minutes away. I need you to stay absolutely quiet. Don't make any noise. But even as she said it, I heard the first footstep on the stairs. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Another step, then another. They were coming up. Lily buried her face in my shoulder, her small body shaking. I looked around the room desperately, searching for anything I could use as a weapon. A desk lamp, a snow globe on her dresser. Nothing that would stop an adult intruder. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs and stopped. I could hear breathing now, just on the other side of the door. Heavy, controlled breathing. Then, a voice muffled and distorted spoke through the wood. I know you're in there, Emma Grace. My blood turned to ice. They knew my name. The police are coming, I shouted, my voice cracking. They're almost here. A low laugh, barely human. I'll be gone before they arrive. I'm always gone before they arrive. A pause. But I wanted you to know. I've been watching you for days. Ever since you posted in that babysitting forum, I knew you'd be the one to take this job. My mind reeled. This wasn't random. This wasn't about the Harrington house. This was about me. I've been in your apartment, Emma. I know where you keep your spare key under the mat. I know you drink chamomile tea before bed. I know you sleep with your window cracked open, even in winter. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Every moment of safety I'd felt in my own home had been a lie. But tonight isn't about taking, the voice continued. Tonight is about giving you a gift, a warning, because the game is so much more fun when you know you're playing. The doorknob rattled, testing the lock. 3 minutes, the dispatcher's voice said in my ear. Officers are 3 minutes away. Run, Emma, the voice said. When I'm done here, I want you to run. Tell the police everything. Let them search. They won't find me. They never do. The doorknob stopped rattling. For a moment, there was only silence, and then I heard the footsteps retreating back down the hallway. My body was frozen, every muscle locked with terror, but my mind was screaming at me to do something. Anything. He's leaving, Lily whispered. He always leaves before the police come. But I couldn't accept that. I couldn't let this person, this stalker who had been in my home, who had been watching me, just vanish into the night. If he escaped now, I'd never feel safe again. I'd never sleep without wondering if he was standing outside my window. I'd never be alone without feeling his eyes on me. Mum, officers are 90 seconds away, the dispatcher said. Stay where you are. But I was already moving. I pulled away from Lily, ignoring her gasp of protest. Stay here. Keep the door locked. When the police come, let them in. Emma, no. I moved the dresser as quietly as I could and unlocked the door. My hands found the snow globe on Lily's dresser, heavy glass filled with water and glitter. It wasn't much, but it was something. I eased the door open. The hallway was empty, but I could hear sounds from downstairs. Quick movements now, the urgency of someone preparing to escape. I crept toward the stairs, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. As I reached the top step, I could see the living room below, illuminated by the streetlights coming through those massive windows. And there, moving toward the broken back door, was the figure. In the better light, I could see more details. Tall, wearing all black, a hood pulled up. But something was wrong with the way they moved, jerky, almost mechanical. They had something in their hand. A phone, I realized. They were recording everything, documenting their invasion of this home like it was some kind of trophy. Red rage flooded through me, burning away the fear. This person had violated my sense of safety, had terrorized a child, had broken into someone's home, and they were going to walk away like it was a game. Not tonight. I descended the stairs as quietly as I could, gripping the snow globe. The intruder was at the door now, 1 foot already outside. In seconds, they'd disappear into those dark woods, and the police would find nothing but broken glass and footprints that led nowhere. "Hey!" I shouted. The figure froze, then slowly turned to face me. Even with the hood up, I could see the gleam of eyes in the shadow of the fabric. We stared at each other across the ruined living room, and I saw the moment they made their decision. Instead of running, they took a step toward me. "Brave," the distorted voice said. "Stupid, but brave. I didn't expect this from you, Emma. You're usually so cautious, so careful to follow the rules." They took another step forward and I backed up, my grip tightening on the snow globe. "The police are outside," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You can't get away." "I always get away." And then they lunged. I threw the snow globe with everything I had. It caught them on the side of the head with a satisfying crack, and they stumbled, cursing. Water and glitter exploded across the marble floor. I didn't wait to see if I'd done any real damage. I turned and ran back up the stairs, taking them 3 at a time. Behind me, I could hear them recovering, hear their footsteps pounding after me. "Lily!" I screamed. "Lock yourself in the bathroom!" I reached the top of the stairs and grabbed the first thing I could find. A decorative vase on a hallway table. The intruder appeared at the bottom of the stairs, and I hurled the vase down. It shattered on the steps, creating an obstacle of broken ceramic. But they kept coming, leaping over the debris with terrifying ease. I ran into the master bedroom, the Harringtons' room, and slammed the door, locking it. Unlike Lily's room, this door was solid, heavy. The lock was substantial, but I knew it wouldn't hold for long. I searched frantically for a phone, a weapon, anything. The master bedroom was huge, with its own sitting area and an ensuite bathroom. I could hear the intruder outside the door, testing the handle. "You're only making this worse for yourself, Emma," the voice called. "I was going to let you go, but now I'm interested. You're more than I thought you were." The door shuddered as they threw their weight against it. I backed toward the windows, my mind racing. These windows overlooked the front yard. I could see police lights now, red and blue flashing, as 2 squad cars pulled into the driveway. "Help!" I screamed, pounding on the glass. "Up here!" The intruder slammed into the door again, and I heard wood splinter. I looked around desperately and spotted the bathroom. I ran inside and locked that door too, creating one more barrier between me and them. The bathroom had a small window, too small to climb through, but large enough to shout from. I pushed it open just as I heard the bedroom door give way with a crash. "Police, I'm up here. Master, bathroom." Heavy footsteps entered the bedroom. I could hear them moving around, searching. The bathroom door handle rattled. "Open the door, Emma," the voice said, calmer now. "Let's talk about this. Let's make a deal." "The police are in the house," I shouted back. "It's over. For tonight, maybe." A pause. "But I know where you live, remember? I know your routine, your friends, your family. Your mother lives alone in that little house on Elm Street, doesn't she? With the yellow shutters." My blood went cold. "Don't you dare!" "So, here's the deal. You tell the police you never saw my face. You say you couldn't identify me. You forget tonight ever happened. And in return, I forget about you. About Lily, about your mother. We all just move on." I heard voices downstairs now. The police were inside. "And if I don't?" I asked, stalling. "Then this game continues. And trust me, Emma, I'm very good at games." "Upstairs!" I heard an officer shout. "Second floor!" The bathroom door shuddered as the intruder kicked it, once hard enough to crack the frame, but they didn't kick it again. Instead, I heard rapid footsteps, then the sound of a window opening. By the time the police burst into the master bedroom 30 seconds later, the intruder was gone. They'd gone out the bedroom window onto the roof, then, according to the officers who searched the yard, dropped down and disappeared into the woods. The next 2 hours were a blur of questions, statements, and lights. The Meadowbrook Estates was transformed into a crime scene, with police cars blocking off Willow Creek Drive and officers searching the property with flashlights and dogs. Neighbours emerged from their perfect houses in robes and slippers, standing on their manicured lawns and whispering to each other while glancing at the Harrington home like it had suddenly become contaminated. I sat in the living room, now illuminated by harsh police spotlights they'd set up, with a blanket around my shoulders and a female officer named Detective Lisa Washington sitting across from me. Lily was in the kitchen with a child services worker, giving her own statement. "Walk me through it again," Detective Washington said gently. "From the beginning." I told her everything. The figure at the tree line, the power outage, the breaking glass, the voice that knew my name that claimed to have been in my apartment. Every word felt like I was reliving it, and my hand shook as I clutched a mug of tea someone had made for me. "And you're certain they said they'd been in your apartment? They knew specific details? They knew about my spare key, about my tea, about my window." My voice cracked. "About my mother." Detective Washington made notes in her pad. "We're going to send officers to check your apartment and to drive by your mother's house tonight. We'll make sure she's safe." This wasn't random, I said, the reality settling over me like a weight. They targeted me specifically. They knew I would take this job. The Harringtons mentioned you found the listing on a babysitting forum. Nanny Connect. It's a site where families post jobs and sitters can apply. I've gotten 3 or 4 jobs from there in the past few months. We'll need access to your account, and we'll need to know about those other jobs. Who hired you, where you worked, if you noticed anything unusual. As she spoke, Mr. and Mrs. Harrington burst through the front door, still in their evening wear from the gala. Mrs. Harrington immediately ran to the kitchen, calling for Lily. Mr. Harrington's face was red with anger. "What the hell happened here?" he demanded, looking at the broken glass, the shattered vase, the chaos of his once pristine home. Detective Washington stood to intercept him. "Mr. Harrington, I'm Detective Washington. Your home was broken into tonight, and your babysitter and daughter were threatened." "I can see that." He looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes. Not concern, but blame. "We hired you to watch our daughter, not to turn our home into a war zone." "Richard!" Mrs. Harrington had emerged from the kitchen clutching Lily. "She protected our daughter. She called the police. What more do you want?" "I want to know why this happened. We've lived in this neighbourhood for 5 years without incident, and the moment we hire some random college girl..." "That's enough," Detective Washington said firmly. "Your babysitter showed remarkable courage tonight. She likely prevented a much worse situation. And based on what she's told us, this wasn't about your house, Mr. Harrington. This was about her." His expression changed from anger to confusion. "What?" "The intruder knew Miss Grace's name, knew personal details about her life. This appears to be a stalking situation that unfortunately involved your family." Mrs. Harrington's face went pale. "Oh my God! Emma, I'm so sorry. We had no idea." "Didn't you, though?" I found myself standing, the blanket falling from my shoulders. The fear had burned away, leaving only anger. "How many babysitters have you had in the past 2 months? Mrs. Harrington's eyes dropped. That's not relevant." 4, Lily told me. 4 babysitters in 2 months, and they all saw someone watching the house. One even called the police, and you refused to pay her. "Those were misunderstandings," Mr. Harrington said quickly. "Overactive imaginations." "No." Detective Washington's voice cut through his excuses. "Let's talk about that, actually. Why didn't you report these incidents? Why did you keep hiring new babysitters instead of addressing the problem?" The Harringtons looked at each other, a silent conversation passing between them. "We thought it was local teenagers," Mrs. Harrington finally said, "playing pranks. The neighbourhood has had some issues with kids from the public school wandering through at night. We didn't want to make a big deal of it." "You put people in danger," I said, my voice shaking. "You knew someone was targeting your house and you didn't warn me. You offered me twice the normal rate because you knew no one would stay if they knew the truth." "We needed a babysitter," Mr. Harrington said defensively. "We had an important event." Your event almost got your daughter and me killed." Lily started crying, and Mrs. Harrington pulled her closer, shooting her husband a look that could have melted steel. Detective Washington stepped between us. "We'll discuss the Harringtons' liability later. Right now, I need to know if you can identify the intruder, Miss Grace. Did you see their face at any point?" I remembered the voice's threat. "Tell the police you never saw my face. You couldn't identify me. Forget tonight happened. And in return, I forget about you, about Lily, about your mother." But I also remembered the rage I'd felt, the violation, the terror in Lily's voice when she'd said the other babysitters had run away. This person had been doing this for months, terrorizing young women, getting away with it because they were smart enough to leave before the police arrived. If I lied now, they would do it again, to someone else. Maybe to Lily again, with a different babysitter who might not be as lucky as I'd been. "No," I said clearly. "They were wearing a hood, and it was dark. I couldn't see their face." It wasn't entirely a lie. I hadn't seen their face, but I had seen other things, details, the way they moved, the slight limp they'd had after I'd hit them with the snow globe, the smell, a distinctive cologne, woody and expensive, the phone they'd been using to record everything. Detective Washington studied me for a long moment, and I had the feeling she knew I was holding something back, but she just nodded. "If you remember anything else and any detail at all, you call me immediately." She handed me her card. By the time the police finished processing the scene and taking statements, it was after midnight. The Harringtons offered to drive me home, but I declined. Detective Washington arranged for a patrol officer to take me instead, and to stay with me while I checked my apartment. The drive home was silent. I stared out the window at the dark streets, my mind spinning. The intruder's words echoed in my head. "This game continues. I'm very good at games." When we pulled up to my apartment building, a modest complex on the edge of town, I felt a chill run down my spine. Every window looked like it could hide a watching face. Every shadow could conceal someone waiting. Officer Mitchell, a young guy who'd been sympathetic all night, walked me up to my second-floor unit. "Let me check it first," he said. I waited in the hallway while he cleared my apartment, my keys clutched in my shaking hand. When he emerged, his expression was grim. "You're going to want to see this." My heart sank as I followed him inside. At first glance, everything looked normal. My modest furniture, my stack of textbooks on the coffee table, my wilting plants on the windowsill. But Officer Mitchell led me to my bedroom, and that's when I saw it. On my bed, arranged carefully, were photographs. At least a dozen of them, printed in high quality on glossy paper, photos of me, walking to my car, entering my building, at the grocery store, having coffee with my friend Jennifer. Every photo I'd taken from a distance, clearly without my knowledge, and on top of the pile, a single note written in neat handwriting. "I kept my promise. I've been watching. Now you have to keep yours. Forget tonight, Emma Grace, or everyone in these photos learns how to play the game." I couldn't stay in that apartment. The walls felt like they were closing in, every creak and groan of the old building sounding like footsteps. Officer Mitchell called Detective Washington, who arrived 40 minutes later with a crime scene team. They photographed everything, bagged the pictures as evidence, dusted for prints that I knew they wouldn't find. "When could they have done this?" Detective Washington asked, examining the photos, spread across my bed like a grotesque art installation. "I left for the Harringtons at 4:30, I said, my voice hollow. "The power didn't go out until around 7. So, between 7 and now, they broke into the Harrington house, terrorized us, escaped the police, came here, and—" I gestured helplessly at the photos. "How is that even possible?" "Either there's more than one person involved," Detective Washington said, her jaw tight, "or someone is moving very quickly and deliberately. The photos could have been placed earlier today while you were at work." The thought that someone had been in my apartment, touching my things, standing in my bedroom while I was blissfully unaware, made my stomach turn. I ran to the bathroom and vomited, my whole body shaking. When I emerged, Detective Washington was waiting with a glass of water. "Emma, I need you to be honest with me. Is there anything else you're not telling me? Any detail about tonight that you're holding back? I thought about the clone, the limp, the phone recording everything. Details that could help identify them, but also details that, if I shared them, might mark me as someone who didn't keep her word. I told you everything, I lied. She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. You can't stay here tonight. Do you have family? Friends? My mum. But she lives 40 minutes away, and I don't want to lead this person to her. Smart? What about friends nearby? I thought of Jennifer, my closest friend from college. She lived in a secure building downtown with her roommate. I can call someone. Do it. And Emma? Detective Washington's expression softened slightly. I've been working stalking cases for 8 years. The one thing I can tell you is that these situations escalate. Whoever this is, they're not going to stop because you're scared. They're going to stop when we catch them. So if you remember anything at all that could help us, you need to tell me. I nodded, but even as I did, I could feel the weight of the photographs pressing down on me. Pictures of Jennifer, my mother, my co-workers, everyone I cared about, catalogued and documented like specimens in a collection. Jennifer answered on the second ring. Emma, it's almost 1 a.m. Can I stay with you tonight? Something happened and I can't be in my apartment. There was no hesitation. Of course. Are you okay? Do you need me to come get you? The police are giving me a ride. I'll explain when I get there. I packed a bag with shaking hands, trying to focus on practical things. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop. Detective Washington had officers dust my spare key hiding spot. It was gone, naturally. Changed my locks and set up a security camera in the hallway. None of it made me feel safer. As we were leaving, I noticed something I'd missed before. My laptop, which I always kept closed, was slightly open. Just a crack, maybe an inch, enough for the camera to see out. They were watching me, I whispered, through my own computer. That's how they knew about the tea, about everything. They've been watching me in my own home. Detective Washington had a tech officer examine it immediately. They found spyware installed, sophisticated, the kind that could activate my camera and microphone remotely. It had been there for at least 3 weeks. 3 weeks of this person watching me, listening to my phone calls, seeing me in my most private moments. I felt violated in a way I couldn't articulate. It was like my skin had been peeled back, every vulnerable part of me exposed to someone who wanted to hurt me. By the time I finally made it to Jennifer's apartment, it was nearly 3 a.m. She opened the door in pajamas, her face full of concern. Oh my God, Emma, what happened? I fell apart. Everything I'd been holding together, the fear, the anger, the violation, came pouring out in great, gasping sobs. Jennifer held me while I told her everything, about the babysitting job, the stalker, the photos, the computer. We're going to the police station tomorrow, Jennifer said firmly when I finally stopped crying. You're going to tell them every single detail you held back, because this psycho needs to be caught, Emma, before they hurt you or someone else. But the threats are meant to keep you silent. Don't you see? That's how they maintain power, by making you afraid to fight back. She gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet her eyes. You're the bravest person I know. You hit them with a snow globe, for God's sake. Don't let them make you a victim. She was right. I knew she was right. But as I lay in her guest room that night, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that somewhere, somehow, they could see me even now. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Poor Emma, scared and alone, but not as alone as you think. Check your bag. My blood froze. I grabbed the overnight bag I'd packed, dumping its contents onto the bed. Clothes, toiletries, laptop, and something I hadn't packed. A small GPS tracker, no bigger than a quarter, sewn into the lining of my bag. They knew where I was. They'd known all along where I would go. I showed Jennifer the tracker, and we immediately called Detective Washington. She arrived within 20 minutes, her expression grim, as she bagged the tracker as evidence. This changes things, she said. This level of surveillance, the technical sophistication, this isn't some amateur. Whoever this is has resources and knowledge. They're organised, patient, and they've been planning this for a while. But why me? I asked desperately. I'm nobody. I'm just a college graduate trying to make rent. Why would someone go to all this trouble? That's what we need to figure out. I want you to think back over the past few months. Any interactions that felt off? Anyone who paid too much attention to you? Any jobs that seemed unusual? I tried to think, but my mind was a blur of fear and exhaustion. There was a job about a month ago. A family in Riverside. The dad was really particular about what I wore, what I said. He kept adjusting the nanny cam, making sure it could see every angle of the living room. His wife seemed uncomfortable about it, but she didn't say anything. Detective Washington leaned forward. Do you remember their names? Thompson, David and Rachel Thompson. They had a 3-year-old daughter named Amy. And how did you find that job? The same forum, Nanny Connect. Detective Washington pulled out her phone and made a call. I need you to pull all postings on Nanny Connect for the past 6 months. Focus on families in the greater metro area who hired young female babysitters. She looked at me. I think we've been looking at this wrong. This isn't just about you, Emma. I think you're one of many targets. And this person has been using that forum to find vulnerable young women with access to wealthy homes. The implications hit me like a freight train. How many? We won't know until we investigate, but based on what the Harringtons told us about previous babysitters and now this Thompson family, potentially dozens. I felt sick. All those other women, terrorised and traumatised, probably too scared or too ashamed to report what happened. And this person had been refining their methods, learning, getting bolder with each victim. We need to set a trap, I said suddenly. Everyone looked at me. They think I'm scared. They think I'll do what they say. So let's use that. My voice was getting stronger, the fear transforming into something else. Determination. I'll post on the forum again, looking for babysitting work. They won't be able to resist. And when they make contact, we'll be ready. Detective Washington shook her head. Emma, that's incredibly dangerous. We can't use you as bait. I'm already bait. They know where I am. They're tracking me. At least this way, we control the situation. I stood up, my hands clenched into fists. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of running. This person has taken enough from me, from all of us. It's time to take something back. Jennifer grabbed my hand. If Emma's doing this, I'm helping. We can make it work. Detective Washington looked between us, clearly torn. Finally, she nodded slowly. If we do this, we do it my way. Full surveillance, undercover officers, and at the first sign of real danger, we pull the plug. Understood. Understood. The plan took 3 days to set up. In that time, I stayed with Jennifer, never going anywhere alone. Always aware of the cameras Detective Washington's team had positioned around the building. Every moment felt like I was wearing my skin inside out, every nerve exposed. The police analysed the GPS tracker and found it was part of a batch sold to a security company that operated throughout the metro area. That narrowed the suspect pool, but not enough. The company had sold thousands of units over the past year. Meanwhile, Detective Washington's team pulled every babysitting posting from Nanny Connect for the past 6 months. They found a pattern that made my blood run cold. 17 young women, all in their early 20s, all hired through the forum, all working in upscale neighbourhoods. And when they contacted these women, 13 of them reported strange incidents. Someone watching the houses, power outages, break-ins that police couldn't solve, but none of them had reported it officially. Like the Harrington babysitters, they'd been too scared, too uncertain, or been dismissed by families who didn't want the publicity. We were dealing with a serial stalker, someone who had been perfecting their technique for months, and I was going to help stop them. On the third night, I posted a new listing on Nanny Connect. Experienced babysitter available for evening overnight work, reliable, certified in CPR, available immediately, comfortable with pets and multiple children. I used my real name, my real photo, everything designed to make me easy to find. to make me look vulnerable and available. Then we waited. The response came within 2 hours. A new family account created just that day. "Hello, Emma. We saw your posting and are very interested. We have a 7-year-old son and need someone for this Friday evening, 6 p.m. to midnight. We live in Fairmont Hills. Rate is $300 for the night. Can you start this week?" Fairmont Hills was even more upscale than Meadowbrook Estates. Houses that cost millions, security gates, private roads. Exactly the kind of neighborhood that had been targeted before. Detective Washington traced the IP address. It came from a coffee shop downtown, public Wi-Fi, untraceable. But the account had made one mistake. The profile photo showed a partial view of a house exterior, and in the reflection of a window, you could see someone taking the photo. The image was blurry, but the tech team was working on enhancing it. "I'll take it," I messaged back. "Friday works perfectly. What's the address?" They sent me an address in Fairmont Hills. Detective Washington's team checked it out. It was a real house, recently sold, currently empty while the new owners renovated. Perfect for a trap, either the stalker's trap or ours. We spent the next 2 days preparing. I was fitted with a wire so sophisticated it looked like a regular necklace. 2 undercover officers would be posing as joggers on the street. 3 more would be in an unmarked van 2 blocks away. Detective Washington herself would be monitoring everything from a command post. "The moment things go wrong, you say the word lavender," she instructed. "That's your panic word. Say it, and we come in immediately." Friday arrived too quickly and too slowly. I dressed carefully, jeans, a sweater, comfortable shoes. I could run in if needed. Jennifer hugged me before I left. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "Yes, I do. For me, for Lily, for all those other women who were too scared to fight back." The drive to Fairmont Hills felt surreal. Police cars flanked me at a distance, invisible to anyone who wasn't looking for them. The address led me to a beautiful craftsman-style house, set back from the road, surrounded by old-growth trees. It looked abandoned. No cars in the driveway, no lights in the windows. I parked on the street as instructed and checked my phone. A new message. "Front door is unlocked. Come inside. We're running late, but we'll be there in 15 minutes. Every instinct screamed at me not to enter that house. But this was the plan. This was how we caught them. I walked up the driveway, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The front door swung open at my touch, revealing a dark interior. I reached for the light switch, but nothing happened. The power was off. Of course it was. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing in the empty space. "Is anyone here?" Silence answered me. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight, illuminating a gutted interior. The renovation had stripped the house down to studs in places. Plastic sheeting hung from the ceiling. Tools lay scattered across the floor. "Detective, something's wrong," I said quietly, knowing the wire would pick it up. "The house is empty, under construction. Nobody's living here." "Copy that." Detective Washington's voice crackled in the nearly invisible earpiece they'd given me. "Units are moving into position. Get out of there, Emma." But before I could turn around, I heard it. A sound I'd heard before, in the Harrington house. That same deliberate, heavy breathing. They were already inside. The front door slammed shut behind me, plunging me into deeper darkness. My phone light swung wildly as I spun around, illuminating plastic sheeting and exposed beams, and there, a figure in the shadows, perfectly still, watching me. "Hello again, Emma Grace," the distorted voice said. "I knew you couldn't resist. I knew you'd try to be the hero." "Lavender," I said clearly. "Lavender, lavender, lavender." My phone was knocked from my hand, skittering across the floor. The wire at my throat was yanked hard, the chain snapping. I heard it hit the ground somewhere in the darkness. "Did you really think I wouldn't know?" the voice said, closer now. "Did you really think I wouldn't prepare for this?" I ran, blindly, desperately, crashing through plastic sheeting and stumbling over construction debris. Behind me, I could hear them following, their footsteps measured and patient. They weren't running. They didn't need to. They knew this house. They'd prepared it. I found a staircase and took it, my hands gripping the railing as I climbed. Upstairs had to have windows, had to have a way out. But the second floor was worse. More plastic sheeting creating a maze of translucent walls. I could see shadows moving on the other side of the plastic, but I couldn't tell which were real and which were just my imagination. "The police are outside," I called out, trying to sound braver than I felt. "They know I'm here. They're coming in right now." "No, they're not." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "I have a jammer. Very sophisticated, very expensive. Right now, your wire is broadcasting static. Your earpiece is dead. And your friends outside think you're still safely in your car, having reception issues." My stomach dropped. They'd thought of everything. "But don't worry," the voice continued. "I'm not going to hurt you, Emma. You're too interesting, too brave. I'm going to make you an offer instead." A light clicked on, a camping lantern sitting on the floor in the centre of the room, and beside it, sitting calmly in a folding chair, was a woman. She was in her 40s, elegant, with short, dark hair and expensive clothes. She looked like she could be a lawyer or a doctor or a CEO, not a monster, not a stalker, just a woman who could have been anyone's mother or boss or neighbour. "Surprised?" she asked, pulling down the hood she'd been wearing. Her voice was normal now, without the distortion, cultured and calm. "Everyone always is. They expect a man, a creepy loner, not someone like me." I stared at her, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. "Who are you?" "Someone who's been watching you, Emma. Watching all of you, seeing how you react under pressure, how you solve problems, how you handle fear." She smiled. "You're remarkable. Did you know that?" Most of the others crumbled. "But you fought back. You protected that child. You didn't run when you had the chance." "You're insane." No, I'm practical. I'm a recruiter, Emma. I work for people who need individuals with very specific skills. People who can think under pressure, who can lie convincingly, who can be ruthless when necessary." She leaned forward. "I terrorize young women because fear reveals truth. It strips away all the pretense and shows me who you really are. And you, Emma Grace, are exactly the kind of person my employers are looking for. I'll never work for you." That's what they all say at first. But then I show them this. She pulled out a tablet and turned it toward me. On the screen were photos. My mother, Jennifer, even Lily Harrington. I have people watching everyone you care about, right now, ready to act on my command. The police will find nothing, no evidence, no connection to me. I've been doing this for 3 years, Emma. 17 women tested, 4 recruited, 0 arrests. She stood up slowly. "So, here's your choice. You work for me and everyone you love stays safe. You refuse and they disappear, one by one, and you get to live with that guilt forever." I stared at the woman, my mind racing through possibilities. She thought she had me trapped, thought she'd covered every angle, but she'd made one critical mistake. She'd told me her plan. She'd revealed herself because she believed I had no way out. She didn't know about the backup wire sewn into the lining of my jacket, the one Detective Washington had insisted on as a failsafe. It had a shorter range and lower quality, but if the police had gotten close enough to the house... "How long?" I asked, stalling for time. "How long have you been doing this?" 3 years, like I said. It started as a personal project, a way to test a theory, but my employers saw the potential. She walked around me slowly like a predator circling prey. They need people for sensitive work, corporate espionage, political manipulation, sometimes worse. And the best candidates are the ones who've already proven they can function in extreme circumstances. The other women you recruited, where are they now? Working. Thriving, actually. I pay extremely well. They've all come to understand that morality is just another word for weakness. When you're truly afraid, you learn what you're capable of. She stopped in front of me. Like you in that house, hitting an intruder with a snow globe. That kind of violence doesn't come naturally to someone like you. But fear brought it out. Imagine what else I could teach you to do. You're a monster. I said quietly. I'm a realist, and you have 30 seconds to make your choice, Emma. Work for me or watch everyone you love suffer. I'll do it, I said, letting my shoulders slump in defeat. I'll work for you. Just please don't hurt them. She smiled, satisfied. Smart girl. I knew you'd see reason. Now, we'll start with something simple. There's a man in the city, a journalist, who's been asking inconvenient questions about my employers. You're going to befriend him, gain his trust, and find out what he knows. Think of it as your first test. Okay, I whispered. Whatever you want. Excellent. Now, we're going to walk out of here together. Your police friends are still outside, but they think everything's fine. You're going to get in your car and drive away like nothing happened. I'll contact you in 3 days with your first assignment. She picked up the lantern. And, Emma, if you try to run, if you tell anyone about this conversation, I'll know. I always know. We walked downstairs together, and she was right. Through the front windows, I could see police cars still positioned down the street, unmoving. The jammer had worked. They thought I was still safe. She opened the front door, and I stepped out into the cool night air. My car was exactly where I'd left it. Everything looked normal, peaceful. A quiet suburban street where nothing bad ever happened. Remember, Emma, the woman said behind me, 3 days. Don't disappoint me. I walked toward my car, my legs feeling like lead. I reached for the door handle, then stopped, turned around. I lied, I said clearly. I'm not going to work for you. Her expression darkened. Then you've killed them. I hope you can live with... The street erupted with movement. Police cars surged forward, officers emerging from shadows I hadn't known they were hiding in. The joggers I'd seen earlier weren't just 2 undercover cops. They were 4, and they'd been positioned all around the house. The woman tried to run, but she didn't make it 3 steps before Detective Washington had her face down on the ground, reading her rights. The backup wire, I said, my voice shaking. You checked for 1 wire, but not 2. We've got everything you said. Every confession. Every threat. Detective Washington pulled the woman to her feet, and I finally saw fear in her eyes. Real fear, the kind she'd been inflicting on others for 3 years. Emily Hawthorne, Detective Washington said, former CIA operative turned private contractor. We've been tracking your organization for 2 years. Thanks to Emma's testimony and this recorded confession, we finally have enough to bring you and your employers down. More police cars arrived, and with them, FBI agents. The quiet street transformed into a crime scene, and I watched as they led Emily Hawthorne away in handcuffs. She looked at me as they put her in the car, her expression promising retribution. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Detective Washington approached me, her expression somewhere between impressed and concerned. That was incredibly reckless. She could have killed you, but she didn't. And now she can't hurt anyone else. The people she mentioned, the ones watching your family and friends, we've already picked up 3 of them. They were exactly where she said they'd be. We'll get the rest. She squeezed my shoulder. You did good, Emma, really good. Jennifer was waiting for me at the police station, and when I walked in, she threw her arms around me. Don't you ever do anything like that again. I won't need to. It's over. But it wasn't quite over. Not yet. Over the next 3 weeks, I watched as Detective Washington's case unfolded. Emily Hawthorne's organization was larger than anyone had anticipated. 17 women tested, 4 recruited, and dozens of crimes committed over 3 years. The FBI found evidence of corporate espionage, political blackmail, and worse. The other recruited women, when offered immunity, testified against their employers. The Harringtons called to apologise, offering to pay for therapy and my time. I told them where they could put their money and hung up. Some bridges deserved to burn. Lily, however, I visited. She was seeing a child psychologist and doing better. When I arrived at their house, now with a proper security system and window treatments, she ran to hug me. You kept me safe, she said. Even when you were scared. You kept yourself safe too, I told her. You were so brave, Lily. Don't forget that. As for the other babysitters, I tracked down as many as I could. We formed a support group, 13 women who'd survived Emily Hawthorne's tests. We met once a week, sharing our stories, helping each other heal. Some were still struggling, some were already moving forward, but we were doing it together. My mother wanted me to quit babysitting forever, but I refused. I wouldn't let Emily Hawthorne take that from me too. Instead, I started a service, properly vetted families, secure check-ins, panic buttons, and fair wages. I called it Safe Sitters, and it grew faster than I'd imagined. Turns out people were willing to pay for peace of mind. Jennifer became my business partner. Detective Washington became an unofficial advisor. And slowly, month by month, I rebuilt my sense of security, but I still check my windows at night, still scan crowds for watching faces, still feel my heart race when I hear unexpected footsteps. Some things you never completely forget. Some fears never fully leave you. 6 months after that night in Fairmont Hills, I received a letter. It came to my new apartment, the one with the security system, and the doorman, and the locks I checked 3 times before bed. The envelope had no return address, just my name written in elegant handwriting. Inside was a single sentence. "You won this round, Emma Grace, but the game isn't over." I called Detective Washington immediately. She traced the letter. It had been mailed from a prison, smuggled out by someone Emily Hawthorne had connections with. There was nothing actionable, nothing technically threatening, just a reminder that she was still thinking about me. I burned the letter and scattered the ashes, because here's what Emily Hawthorne didn't understand. Fear had changed me. Yes, it had stripped away my naivete and my sense of safety, but it had also made me stronger. It had shown me I could face monsters and survive. It had taught me I was capable of more than I'd ever imagined. So if she wanted to play games, I was ready. I had survived being watched through windows in a quiet suburb. I had stared down a serial stalker and lived to tell the story. I had protected a child and caught a monster. And if Emily Hawthorne or anyone else came for me again, they'd find I was no longer the scared babysitter who'd taken that job for extra cash. I was Emma Grace, and I was done being afraid. The end. Dear Diary, if you're reading this, know that every word is true. The woman who terrorized me is in prison. The organization she worked for has been dismantled, and I wake up every morning choosing to be brave. Some nights I still dream about those windows, those watching eyes in the darkness, that voice promising I could never escape. But I did escape, and I helped make sure no one else would have to face what I faced. That's not just survival, that's victory. And it's a victory I'll carry with me every single day for the rest of my life.